Happy New Year, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another FPL video. In this one I'm going to talk about Cunha replacements, captain selection for game week 20, and I'll also take a look at updated watch lists when it comes to defenders, midfielders and forwards. So let's have a look. First, real quick, a look at my game week 19 team. Bad game week so far, 60 points, so a red arrow. I captain Cole Palmer, which turned out to be a mistake. Mo Salah, he got 16 points and a lot of managers got that double. Kind of annoying that Sanchez, my goalkeeper, was benched in the first game week where my second goalkeeper Fabianski was injured, so I had no playing goalkeeper for game week 19. Bowen as well, really frustrating seeing he had to be taken off during the first half. I'll probably have to replace him ahead of game week 20. I'll talk more about this in the transfer section later on in this video. Luckily for me, I had some other players stepping up, so SA, Lewis Hall, Joao Pedro and Isak all scored, and of course I had Mo Salah even though I did not captain him. I have two players left, Gabriel and Havertz. I need Gabriel to do something. I can't really just rely on a clean sheets from him because there are so many managers with double and even triple Arsenal defense, so I need Gabriel to get an attacking return. Up front, Kai Havertz, big differential, scored in game week 17 and 18, so hopefully he can do this in the last game of game week 19 as well. But for now, let's have a look at my team for game week 20. So this is my team for game week 20, kind of mixed fixtures. I have Joao Pedro playing against Gabriel and also SA playing against my goalkeeper Sanchez. So usually I try to avoid having my attackers playing against my defenders, but I can't really see an easy option to avoid this in game week 20 with only one free transfer. Lewis Hall is on my bench. I might consider playing him, but then again, having Jared Bowen on my bench is not something I want. He's injured. He will probably miss all the games in January, so I do believe that Jared Bowen is a sell at the moment. I'll talk more about Bowen replacements in the watch list. I'll also take a look at defenders and the forwards, and especially the Cunha replacements. So let's just jump straight into the watch list. If you need a new defender at the moment, I definitely think that one of those guys should be in consideration. Milenkovic and Nottingham Forest have done well recently, and he also carries a lot of attacking threats. So Milenkovic nailed on, good price at 4.7, attacking threat at set pieces, and decent fixtures going forward. So Milenkovic, if you don't have any Nottingham Forest defenders, is probably one to consider. Next on the list is Munoz. Look at his expected goal involvement from the last 4 games, 1.23. This is really close to matching Trent Arnold when it comes to expected goal involvement. He's also priced at 4.7, and Crystal Palace have decent fixtures going forward as well. So if you don't have any Crystal Palace defensive assets, I think that he is probably one of the best defenders to target at the moment. Last on the list is Castan. We know that he is probably safe the next couple of months. Kenny Tete is still injured. He's only priced at 4.2 still, so I think that he is really good value considering Fulham's fixtures. If you have 5 million, I still do believe that Robinson probably is the better option, especially long term, but at the moment Castan is a really good player to target for our defenses. The watch list for midfielders, I like Anthony Gordon at the moment, 7.4, 14% selected and 2.17 expected goal involvement. He definitely passes the eye test and is nailed on for a good Newcastle team. One slight problem with Gordon is that a lot of managers probably have 2 players from Newcastle already. Lewis Hall, really popular defender, and most of us have Isak at this point. So is it worth tripling up on Newcastle? I'll talk more about this in the transfer section. Next on the list is SA 6.6, so a bit more budget friendly. I really like him as an option, and I would definitely spend the extra funds by upgrading Ismail Assar to SA. SA is Crystal Palace talisman and their best player on most set pieces. Not penalties though, because he's sharing them with Mateta, but I still think that Esse is a really good option at the moment. Last on this list is one really popular asset at the start of the season, Mbeumo, still 28% owned, and the fixtures are mixed for Brentford going forward. Really good fixture in game week 20, but it gets a bit tougher from game week 21 all the way until 24. So is it worth bringing in Mbeumo ahead of this game week just for the Southampton fixture, or should we possibly wait a couple of more game weeks? I'll talk more about this in the transfer section as well. The watch list for forwards: Mateta, Wood and Isak. My favorite to replace Cunha is definitely Isak, but if you don't have the funds, Chris Wood and Mateta are also really good options. Chris Wood is the cheapest on the list, 6.7, decent fixtures coming up. Kind of a tough fixture in game week 21, but Nottingham Forest might score against Liverpool as well. He's nailed on and on penalties, so I definitely think that Chris Wood is a really good option. 26% owned, so not to be considered as a differential. If you need a differential in your team, Mateta is a really good option, only 3% selected, 7.2, so a bit more expensive, but especially if you don't have Ismail Assar or Esse, I would consider bringing in Mateta. So those are my favorite Cunha replacements. As mentioned, if you have the funds, pick Isak. If you want a safe option, Chris Wood, and if you want a differential, I really like Mateta as well. Jarrod Bowen is injured and will not play until February, and he needs to be replaced. An easy move for me would be to sell Jarrod Bowen to bring in Anthony Gordon. I talked about him in the watch list, and he is a really good asset at the moment. The problem for me is that I already have Alexander Isak and Lewis Hall. Am I willing to triple up on Newcastle? I'm not really sure at the moment. Generally, I don't actually like triple ups, because when you have 3 players from the same team in the same game, they are actually competing for the same bonus points. So I don't want to just get Gordon. I'd like to look at some other options as well. One of the problems is that there are not that many other good options. I'm considering Bruno Fernandes at the moment, but I don't like his fixture in game week 20. He's playing against Liverpool. They are in really good form, so it feels kind of wrong bringing in Bruno Fernandes when he plays against Liverpool. For me, I have Lewis Hall on my bench. I might play him against Tottenham and just hold Bowen for one more week, and then bring in Bruno Fernandes from game week 21 for his good fixture at home against Southampton. Another option for me is to sell Bowen and bring in Mbeumo. He has a really good fixture against Southampton in game week 20, so the plan, if I do this, is actually to use 2 transfers on selling Bowen to Mbeumo, and then sell him to Bruno Fernandes in game week 21. If I do this, I get really good fixtures, but transfers are valuable as well, so I'm not sure if this is the best option. I might get more points, but I will also not be able to save up valuable free transfers going forward. So the easiest thing would probably be to just bring in Gordon. Second option is to bring in Bruno Fernandes, possibly in game week 21, and keep Bowen for one more week. And my third option is to get Mbeumo as a 1-week punt against Southampton, and then switch him to Bruno Fernandes in game week 21. Let me know in the comment section which option do you think is the best. The next FPL deadline is on Saturday, 4th of January, so I'll have a Q&A Friday night, the night before the deadline, so make sure to tune in to discuss FPL and those moves. Cole Palmer is a decent captain option for game week 20. He is playing against Crystal Palace. When we take a look at their stats, they are 16th for goals conceded and also expected goals conceded. So Crystal Palace, not that solid defensively, and hopefully if you captain Cole Palmer, they can do well against them. I'm not going to take another punt on Cole Palmer. I did it in game week 19 and it failed massively against Ipswich in game week 19. So for me, I will have a look at other options. The most captain for the last game weeks, Mo Salah, he's playing against Man United. He will probably be the most captain player again. And when we consider Man United, they are not in their best form, but they have actually done pretty well when it comes to their defending. Of course, they have conceded 8 goals, which is quite bad, but when we take a look at expected goals conceded, shots on target and big chances against them, Man United are actually not that bad. So as mentioned, Mo Salah will probably be the most captain player in game week 20, and he is also the safest option. But I will also have a look at another option which I think is really interesting for captaincy in game week 20. So if you want to take a risk in game week 20 by going against Mo Salah, as mentioned, I did it in game week 19 and it failed badly, so I'll probably want to do it again. At the moment, my captaincy is actually on Alexander Isak. He did really well against Man United, especially in the first half, looked really good, so he passes the eye test. And when we consider their opponent for game week 20, this is really exciting, because we know that Spurs have done really poor defensively recently, but in the last couple of game weeks it has gotten even worse. When we look at the stats, they have actually kept 1 clean sheet but conceded 9 goals, 17 big chances against them, 20 shots on target conceded, and they are worst when it comes to expected goals conceded with 8.31. So I do believe that Newcastle can do really well against Spurs. So Spurs are the worst defensive team in the league at the moment, and Newcastle are in fine form. So if you want to take a risk, as mentioned, by going against Mo Salah, I definitely think that Alexander Isak is probably the best option. Let me know in the comments down below who will be your captain for game week 20. Thanks for watching, and if you find the time, join in on the live Q&A on Friday night before the deadline on Saturday the 4th.